Hi, I am Dr. Jim Porter, and I'm going to entitle this video Sympathy for the Donald. You know who I'm talking about, Donald Trump, Donald J. Trump, President Donald J. Trump. If I can slap on doctor onto my name, I can slap on president onto his name, although many people do not respect him. I will now admit something that maybe I haven't admitted in a video before. I would probably be considered by most people to be a hardcore leftist. But one thing I also am is a person who really strives hard to understand the supposedly worst people of all. That's why I think um, that we do need to have empathy for Donald Trump. It's more fun to call it sympathy for the Donald for obvious reasons, right? But really, I think I'm talking to people who don't like him, and maybe I'm actually talking to people who love him too. When I talk about this today, I got to admit, I don't know the person. I don't know the man. I don't know the guy. I've never met him. I've seen a lot of his behavior that's in public, but I've learned that that doesn't really tell me enough for me to make true judgments. Now, I can say politically that there's not a politician uh, different than whom I would do things. That's really clumsy wording because I wouldn't probably do anything the same way any politician does, or at least not completely. I'm sure that if I were ever a politician, I'd do a lot of things that are the same old story, all the stuff we're all pretty much tired of. I love how shiny it is up here. I worked very hard for years to clear out this area to get some shine on there. But the thing is that I also come from a spiritual perspective. Now, that is love your enemies, love your neighbor. Even in the Christian Bible, in the New Testament, the story following love your neighbor gives an example of a traditional enemy of Jesus's people, Jesus's sort of sub-ethnic group in his nation. Um, they didn't like the Samaritans traditionally. The Samaritans were considered not, I don't know, worthy of their time or whatever, and he gave that example. So everybody's born with brainwashing. Everybody has to live with their brainwashing in adulthood and learn how to make use of it or learn how to unbrainwash themselves and rebrainwash themselves into the person they want to be. But these thoughts that came to me about um, trying to use concepts of peace, tolerance, if I'm going to apply them to America's marginalized groups, people who are oppressed because of their apparent or real race, ethnicity, gender, political group, religion, creed, lack of creed, or whatever, I'm going to have to try that on the places where it's the most difficult. So, one of the places I start is I believe that whether I come off really well to others or really poorly to others. And although there's a part of me that would hate for you to see all the secret thoughts in my head, there's another part of me that would actually love people to be able to get a good, honest, complete look at all my inner workings, all my inner thoughts, feelings, emotions, past statements, mistakes, and all that. Because I think when you do get to look inside another person in that way, you suddenly realize how much they are you, how much that person is so much deeper than what you see them doing. And there's a distinction to be made there. What a person does is not what a person is. But what we do is very important because we can hurt people. And we can hurt and ruin wonderful things. We can destroy. We can create what people call evil. We can do things that could be called evil. I myself have disclosed to some people close to me one incident from my mid to late 20s, um, in which I did something that I would consider myself the bad guy in the story, the villain in the story. And believe me, that hurt. So, speaking of things hurting, I believe we all hurt, just like what the heck was the name of that band? Everybody hurts sometimes. That's that group. I love that group. And REM, thank you very much. Whoever said that, I heard you. I believe everybody hurts, and I believe Donald Trump hurts. I heard some people talking today. Um, People are trying to diagnose him. People are trying to diagnose each other. People are trying to diagnose themselves. As my job, sometimes the function is to diagnose. Diagnosis is really a label that we give based on what evidence we see, gleaned by interview or by standardized paper and pencil or computerized assessments that give us a reasonable idea of what we want to call somebody's pattern or what several names we want to give to a person's pattern that sound like a sickness and all that stuff. But we only use those as tools, as handles to help us think about it. Many of my clients don't even actually have an actual diagnosis written down in their charts because it isn't seeming relevant to the work that we're doing together. So there you go. People are trying to diagnose Donald Trump. I want to make something very clear. I'm against most things that he does in terms of um, I'm kind of an SJW. I go in that direction. I'd love to be a part of making positive change in the world. But I've found out, though, that a lot of non SJWs, a lot of hardcore right wingers, who again, whose actions or professed beliefs I don't agree with, some of their actions and professed beliefs, I detest the actions. But I've been in conversation with so many of them. I've grown up with so many of them. I'm related to so many of them that I've come to actually feel love and understand that I have ideas probably just as crazy as theirs, or that someone would think of as crazy, and someone would think of their ideas as crazy too. So every one of us has a whole story inside that explains why we're doing what we're doing. So anyway, even though I have this leaning where I don't like what a lot of what Donald J. Trump does and says, I really feel for him. I believe he hurts just like everybody else. And what I was going to say was people who would diagnose him might assume he doesn't. There is some research that shows that people with antisocial personality disorder don't have the ability to feel anxiety like almost all humans do. And that may be true. And there are actually people who have antisocial personality disorder whom you can talk to, and they're maybe trying to manipulate you, or they might always be out for their best interest, but they're not like the severe level where they're killers or, you know, people wielding immense power on the earth doing tremendous damage. Some of them are just doing low scale damage like kind of the rest of us do in our worst moments, admit it, right? We all make mistakes. Well, talk to somebody that you think might have antisocial personality disorder and see what it feels like inside. And maybe they'll tell you the truth and maybe they won't, but that doesn't matter because the best we've got is self report. Even with all our amazing brain imaging research, the best thing we have to learn about a person is to talk to them about them. So I feel like if I were really to become, to get people to tell you what's inside, they've got to trust you. And for a person to really trust you, either they have to be just ridiculously gullible, or you have to sort of show them that you're trustworthy with the information. Um, so that's why counseling has a privacy law all around it. And it's also got this mandate that I try to be a good listener and sincerely care about the clients that walk in here. And I've had them all. I've had someone who warned me that he would murder somebody, and he helped me help him stop. I've had a person who was accused of doing one of the most heinous acts of murder, but there was not enough evidence to convict the person, to whom to this day I don't know if the person actually committed the murder, but they had feelings and vulnerabilities, and what some people would say is pathetic sense of weakness and victim mentality and all that stuff. Not like the most fun conversationalist to be about, but once you understood that my philosophy that he was made just like me, born just like me, of the same species with all the same potentials at the start, is what I tend to believe about people. That shit went down with this guy. Something happened to him in his past, or a series of things did to shape him. And that's the same with a public figure like Donald Trump. What a public figure has that a lot of us don't have is they have to put on a face almost on a constant basis, which creates further difficulty, or some people might call pathology, in digging deep and doing some of the work that can help us be outwardly better people, outwardly truly acting better, which is, and feeling better, and resolving the conflictual inner feelings and thoughts that plague us all. I think that's what the man's going through, Donald J. Trump. I'm not saying that it's easy to simultaneously be honest with him about what I feel about what he's doing, and also be honest with him about the fact that a part of me loves him. A very important part of me that I would love to access more loves Donald J. Trump. This does not mean I don't want him out of the office of the presidency. This does not mean that there are tons of other people that I don't want out of the office of the presidency and their other political positions. But ultimately, um, I don't know him yet. But from the myriad people I've seen in this offices and in other offices in which I've worked, I have found that that kernel is in there, that little soul, that little perfect gem, that we can grow and grow and grow larger, that we can grow that gem, that soul, as more of a pronounced part of our being and doing and acting and thinking and feeling, is in everyone, and that must mean him. Um, it's hard for me to give this because I know somebody who already believes this stuff might be biased in his favor, biased in favor of his policies, love him for all the right reasons, love him for all the wrong reasons. So, for those of you who are listening to this, I think, you should turn Donald Trump into a human being. Just like is appropriate with me, I'm not a doctor. I'm a human being that went through this process that merits me being called a doctor in our society. He's not president. He went through this process that merits him being called president. He didn't change into a different being. You just don't. You're just human. You're easily killed by cars, those kind of things. We all have that. There's no difference in the most important sense between one human being and another. He's just a person. So people who are in favor of Donald Trump and his ways and other people in your life like him, I would like you to do him the honor and do me the honor of de-elevating him down to human level. So I'll just do it this way: de-elevating everybody down to human level. And those whom you think are less than you, elevate them up to human level. Think of that, the concept that in so many ways they are just like you. And if they talk to you and you reward them by not using their words against them, using things against them, not impugning their deep down character, being honest about the fact that you are just as stupid as some other person you think of as stupid, that you have probably committed acts of evil that you regret. And even if you're too boggled down with self protective hardware in here stopping you from taking that look in yourself, realize that Donald Trump may be doing that too. So the question is, Donald Trump suffering? I would say yes, he is. Have I met people who are suffering but aren't suffering? Oh my gosh, yes, I have. Because people who've had tremendously scary experiences not only build up a lot of suffering mechanism, but they build up a lot of numbing, ignoring, and avoiding mechanism. I've been one of those people in the past. I had trouble feeling because I had some traumas in my past that once I got them up and cried them out, I had just a lot more flow to my ability to sense my bad feelings, my good feelings, my wonderful feelings, my smooth feelings, my rough feelings, all that. So, um, I'm not I'm actually saying pity the guy. I'm just saying that it's important to start thinking that if you had enough time, you'd be able to understand a person inside and you would see a part you could love. Um, and finally, I want to say this is probably the most effective way to make social change. Is you don't have to pull any punches in terms of what your opinions are about society, individual relationships, and all that stuff. But if you want to have impact, you want people to trust you, and you want to have them trust you because you really deserve their trust. And that one of the key ways of really deserving their trust is not trying to badger them, belittle them, convince them, push them around, brainwash them, win the contest of ideas or whatever other contests that you're imagining between yourself and that person. Because you're actually speaking to the best part of them, is what your job is. And the best part of them, unless it feels threatened, will listen to your ideas and consider them. And eventually that may have influence. You can have influence by all those ways I said not to do: badger, belittle, judge, critique, debate, brainwash. You may have visible impact on a person that way, but you will have side effects. And all the evils you're seeing right now in this world are the side effects. They're the underlying effects that we see from centuries of people just getting their way, putting things to right, making sure that things happen the way that they know is the right way, making people be the way that they think is a better way, and successfully getting people to do that outwardly, and yet creating all kinds of ugly side effects within the person. And that stuff eventually ripples out and creates the mess we have today. So, as hard as it is for me, I'm going to ask you to be the better person, learn to trust yourself, learn to be honest with yourself, and then do the same favor to other people. Allow them to be honest with you. Don't use it against them. Use it in their favor. Their spiritual, social, love needing favor. And eventually, they'll probably get to some of the same conclusions you've gotten to on their own. Don't take credit for changing other people. Just be happy with the changes you see and the concept that you didn't poison the well in the process of changing them. Peace.